The first question basically is, what exactly does the VP of Creative and User Experience do for a company like Gaia?
So Gaia is actually a company that I believe was built on our IP, or intellectual property. So the company was founded by a group of anime fanatic friends who decided to build a space to see if there were more people like them in a larger community. Turns out there was. So our whole business was built upon this notion that the IP itself is valuable. So as we grow, naturally there's a role for a creative director. And then because of the fact that we're a web company and everything we do customer facing is, on that platform, someone has to manage the team that manages the brand and the experience for those individuals on the site. That's where my role comes in.
You mentioned the anime fanatics. I noticed as soon as I went to the website that you get a chance to build against your own sprite, your own avatar.
Yeah.
And it's very anime-esque. Is there anything that you would say is more influenced by the real world than the anime world, or is it just all anime-based, all anime-driven?
So I would suggest that at its inception, it was largely anime-based, but I think that as our audience grows and anime becomes a more mainstream concept, it's less recognizable as specifically traditional anime style. It is obviously very influenced by the anime style, but I think that it's more what I would call traditional or mainstream accepted now because of the fact that, anime has become more recognizable and accepted kind of in a wider audience, and B, because the style is sort of migrating that way a little bit.
You mentioned your audience growing. I mean, we had to move away from your booth because you have such a huge crowd around your audience that you're actually lapping the line around now. You mentioned even that you have, I believe it's 5 million visitors a month. What would you attribute the popularity to the Gaia Online experience compared to other MMOs?
Compared to other MMOs. So I would suggest that A, we're casual, B, we have a massive social, very active community of, like you pointed out, raving fans. That's why I work at Gaia, is because of that fan base. They really not only care personally about what we do, they're willing to share their thoughts, feelings, and experiences about that experience with us. And that happens very seldomly in any business, whether it's MMO or otherwise. And so it's a fantastic opportunity for us to be able to not only build a site that we think is relevant to them, but ensure that it is by listening to the users and understanding what their needs are and, crafting an experience that makes sense to them. So I think it becomes naturally more relevant to them over time, which is why we have a line circling the booth, right?
Unlike other MMOs, I think you guys are more, like you said, community-driven than you are quest-driven, action-driven. It's very interactive. I saw the forums, people putting up fan art. Do you say that maybe you ostracize a certain audience because you're not as quest-driven as other MMOs, while at the same time opening up doors to people the more casual gamer?
Yes, I would actually suggest that we don't ostracize anyone who's more interested in a hardcore, more traditional MMO, because of the fact that I believe people need different kinds of experiences. There's a great deal of value to any user who gets deeply immersed in any massive MMO. There's hundreds of examples of great games out there, right? But I think that we're unique because of the fact that we're casual. We require less of an emotional commitment. They can log in, enjoy the experience on their own terms. They can socialize or choose not to socialize, but they don't have to become so deeply involved to enjoy the experience. So I think we actually are a category that lives very nicely with the more traditional hardcore MMO, right? Not all of us on a daily basis have the time to spend doing that, right? And so I think this provides us an opportunity to kind of move back and forth a little bit. And we've actually got, not only do we have a massive user base, but our users are spending upwards of 2 or more hours a day on the site. So it actually sort of, for us, is proving the fact that they really want something more casual, a little bit more social, something that requires less of an emotional commitment to, enjoy.
Is there a way to level up? Is it just all based on the goal of financial, buying your car, your house, and all that other stuff? I don't know. Are you going to become a level 3 fisherman, or
Yeah. So is there a status ranking hierarchy system?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So at the moment, that's difficult to define because I would suggest that the identity of the users is kind of wrapped up in everything you just mentioned. A, the look or the aesthetic of my avatar. B, the collection of items that I've managed to acquire. Right. How much gold do I have or virtual currency? All contribute to my personal sense of what my status is in the space. We don't right now have a badge or leveling system where, you can very clearly identify what that sort of status is, but we may be doing that in the future.
I noticed that I heard that you guys make over $1 million a month in virtual goods. What is a virtual good compared to a regular good?
So a virtual good is exactly that. It's an item that exists only online, right? It's original IP built by our artists internally, as opposed to, t-shirts and hats.
So how much would a typical item of virtual good cost a person? Like, is it, I guess, shirts or cars or items for your character?
So our microeconomy or microtransactions model works a couple of ways. One, you can pay real cash for an item, but in truth, you can also use the gold that you earn via your experience or engagement on the site to also purchase those items, which allows us to not exclude any one piece of the population, either the people who haven't invested the time to buy the things they want, or the people who have invested the time and don't want to spend the cash. Does that make sense?
Now, I've also heard that you have a beta version coming out, that you were auctioning off possible beta tester positions here at the ComicCon. Can you go more into detail about this possible beta version, what it would include, and how it would improve on the game?
So from a high level, Gaia by itself isn't what I would consider to be an MMO. I would consider it to be more of a social teen platform, right? We're the leader, we're sort of the leader in the teen online hangout space, and the casual MMO that we're doing the beta test for is an extension of that. So we have like you mentioned, very active user base who communicates with us very regularly about the things they want. So about 2 years ago, we went to the community and said, hey, what can we do for you? And essentially they asked us for more of an MMO gameplay style experience. And so this casual MMO that he's talking about is actually the response to that request. So it's more like a traditional casual or a traditional MMO like we were talking about earlier, although it's got a great deal of connective tissue with all the other elements of the site. So it's not just a casual MMO or Gaia, they're all kind of merged together.
Do you think then you can start to see Gaia in retail stores, not just online?
That's a great question. I would love that. Can I see it there? Yes. Do we have plans that way? I can't really go into that, but I would say at the moment, I would love that to happen.
Now you mentioned that you're a teen hangout, but do you find yourself having younger than the teen audience, young demographic, or sometimes older people coming into the site and getting involved with it?
Yeah, so our demographic is 13 to about 24. I think we're aspirational as far as an online hangout goes for a younger audience, but our core audience is 13 to 17, and registration is from 13 up.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.